students. So this is the fourth video in the series of videos related to history of novel. I hope you must be enjoying knowing the history of novel, which is really interesting. So in the first part we saw what is novel. In the second itself we saw the precursors of the novel whose work laid the foundation of novel in the real sense. In the third video, we saw the factors which contributed to the rise of novel, especially in the 18th century. Now in this part, we are going to see the major novelists and novels, their work, which popularized novel as a genre in the 18th century. So if we see according to the publication, the first work which was in prose and somewhat similar to the nowadays what we call novel was John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress. Now, this work of prose which was published in the year 1678 was remarkable because of the treatment given to it. Okay. Then comes Orinoco's Aprabel. Even it is considered as one of the foremost prose work which can be similar to a novel. And after that, these are the works which were seen in the later half of the 17th century. Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. It is regarded by many critics as the real novel of genius. Means it contained many elements of modern novel. Now came the starting of 18th century, the age which we attribute to novel. Now, as in the factors we saw, there were there were a rise in publications of newspapers and all, magazines, periodicals. As we saw, this is also the age when periodical essays came into developed as a form. So the main work, Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe and Moll's Flanders, then Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travel. This story you might have heard about a sailor. Yes? Even Robinson Crusoe is still famous in children. People enjoy it, reading it. Then came the starting of the 18th century, and as I now mentioned, there were many things responsible. And there was readers, rise in the number of readers. At that time, Samuel Richardson, he was a very prosperous London printer, and he came with the novel Pamela or Virtue Rewarded. Now, Pamela or Virtue Rewarded was so popular. It was, and then he wrote a similar novel. It was Clarissa, and both these novels were written in epistolary form. What is epistolary form? This was now totally new, something which was not tried earlier. They were written in the form of letters, and they were not like poetry. They didn't have rhythm, rhyme and all. Now this Pamela or Virtue Rewarded became so popular, and it laid the foundation of novel in the real sense in the first half of the 18th century. Then came as a satire. Actually, Henry Fielding wrote Joseph Andrews and Tom Jones in a satirical way against Pamela or Virtue Rewarded, but it too gained lot of popularity, and it carried forward. We can say that it somewhere introduced a new genre in the category of prose. Then came Tobias Smollett, Roderick Random. Now, if we see these two, Samuel Richardson, Pamela and all, after that came a phase of three writers specially who took this format of writing, a way beyond. These were the three were Henry Fielding, Tobias Smollett, and Lawrence Stern. Now, Henry Fielding, he wrote around 4 novels, of which the two which are very popular, Joseph Andrews and Tom Jones. Then Tobias Smollett, he wrote around 5 novels about the works which are still regarded in high esteem, Candid Audrey Crantham and Humphrey Clinker. Now, if you see the way a prose is written, novel is written, is improving, is being enriched with new topics, new subjects, new techniques, new style of writing. Then came Lawrence Stern's Tristram Shandy, which was totally a new way of writing a novel, where the novelist was writing his own views in a direct way. So this was certainly a change from what was written earlier. Then these were the people who gave a solid base to novel, whose works gave their works resulted in the popularity of novel. Then in the later half of the 18th century we have remarkable novelists, and they were remarkable because they wrote in a unique style which was not which can't be refined. Now you can see that novel gradually is being refined at the hands of novelists like Charles Dickens and Walter Scott. They all have a way of writing. Like Charles Dickens' novel, if you see, he wrote about common man, ordinary people. Okay. Then came Walter Scott. Historical novels got a new lease of life under his hands. Then Nathaniel Hawthorne, Horace Walpole, Thomas Hardy, regional novels. All these contributed to the rise of novel, to the way novels were written, and these novels written by these people were different from the earlier works of prose than what Wilkie Collins and H.G. Wells. All of them, if we see, they added a new feature to the subject matter of the novel, to the theme of novel, to the style of novel. So these were the novelists of the last phase of 17th century and the earliest 18th century, who contributed a lot to the genre called novel. If we see the situation today in the 20th century, we have so many novelists, and they have their own way, their own style of telling the story. So in the 20th century, we have modern topics to deal with and modern way of telling a novel. We have so many novelists like E.M. Forster, James Joyce, okay, then George Orwell, D.H. Lawrence, William Golding, and all. The way, actually, everyone has added in his own unique way a certain feature to novel which was not there earlier. And this genre has been widening. We have so many remarkable novelists like Salman Rushdie, then V.S. Naipaul, then Kazuo Ishiguro from Japan and all, who have written remarkable novels. These are the modern novelists, okay, eminent novelists whom we know and who have been awarded for their work. So in this video, we saw about the major novels, major works, and the novelists who contributed to the genre called novel. And if you get time, please go through a short summary of these novels. You will be intrigued enough to read what is there. Why? Because their work is totally different, and everyone have their own feature which adds to the richness of the novel as genre. When I had started, I told you, novel has flourished only because it is free of the